Hi BookTube, I'm here with my February wrap-up. I'm just going to hop right into it. There are no particular order, to be honest. There wasn't a really bad book. There were a lot of really good books. So yeah, there are no particular order. So first I have to mention The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. There are a lot of read-alongs going along for this right now, so I'll link, I think there's like 3 currently going on in varying stages of it, so I'll link them all in the description box down below. I'm not following a particular one. I'm kind of in and out of all of them because I've already read the series, so this was a reread for me. And I just like seeing people discover the series for the first time. It's awesome. So Eye of the World is the first book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, and the later books were finished by Brandon Sanderson. So what is the Wheel of Time about? Well, I described it on Twitter recently as a philosophical treatise on the cyclical nature of time and the Jungian hero archetype mixed with feminist politics explored over 14 volumes. Which is really what it's about. I wasn't joking. It's kind of a convoluted way of hitting it, but yes. The Wheel of Time refers to the secular nature of time and how people are reborn. And we have our hero archetype in Rand, and there's a lot of feminist politics because the Aes Sedai are like top tier politicians of this world, and I'm going to be doing a video about why the Wheel of Time is such an important fantasy series later on. So yeah, it's really good. I definitely think you should read it. I love this series, and loved going back and seeing all the foreshadowing. It is ridiculous how much foreshadowing is in there. Half of my tabs were about foreshadowing. And Jordan really, he knew what he was doing with these novels. He knew where they were going. So it's really cool to see all that. I also read Sabriel this month by Garth Nix. Anyways, this is the first book in the Porson series. It's about Sabriel, who is the daughter of a necromancer. The ultimate necromancer, it seems. But it's more about making sure dead things stay dead, as opposed to just resurrecting dead things. It's a really neat magic system. It's comprised of like bells, whistles, and kind of picturing charter marks and like sending magic out like that. And I definitely plan on completing this series. I also read Boy, Tales of Childhood by Roald Dahl, and I said there were no really bad books. I don't think this was a really bad book, but I guess it would be my least favorite, I'd say. And it really drove home the idea that I probably shouldn't read autobiographies of authors that I love, or whose works I love anyways. I love the works of Roald Dahl. Danny, Champion of the World is one of my all-time favorite books, but by golly, he's not a nice person. Maybe he was a nice person, but there were a lot of things that disappointed me about him. The story is mostly comprised of him getting caned at school by sadist headmasters, and then bragging about how good he was at everything, and how he was better than the working class, because he got to carry a useless umbrella around as a businessman, and I don't know if he really saw the metaphor in that, you know, like, you're useless, you carry around a useless tool, the working class. I'm not going to go into another socialist rant, but yes, it really disturbed me that he was that much into the class system, despite the books that he wrote, which are all about the underdogs. It was just very frustrating. And then I'm participating in Canada Reads. I've read 4 of the 5 books so far, and I will read the 5th one, hopefully before this series comes out on TV. I also got a link to the Bibliotherapist. She's doing an extensive Canada Read. She's reading all the books on the long list. So she has a much more in-depth view of Canada Reads this year. If you don't know, Canada Reads is kind of like a reading competition, where 5 Canadian celebrities pick 5 books, and then they debate which one of those books every Canadian should read. And it's kind of like Survivor, where a book gets voted off each day. Yeah, it's really, really good, and I think it really speaks to a lot of Canadians and brings a lot of Canadian literature to the attention. So I read Homes by Abu Bakr al-Rabia and Winnie Young. This is the story of Bakar, whose family left their home in Iraq during the war there. They came to Syria just before the Syrian civil war broke out, so like they're constantly being followed by destruction and strife and everything. And eventually his family came to Canada. And I really like that this humanized the story of refugees, because here's this young boy who really reminded me a lot of my younger brothers. Because, you know, he loves to play video games. He loves to play soccer and hang out with his friends. Like, he's just a normal kid who also happens to be living in a place being destroyed by war and has to hide from bombs and snipers. And it's just like, really, like, it feels just like a normal kid. And that's what it is. It doesn't just feel like it. He is a normal kid going through these horrible experiences. And I like that it didn't go into the politics of the war. It didn't say why it was happening or what was going on. It was just this kid's experience. And I liked that. I also read Brother by David Sheriandy, and oh my gosh, this story is beautiful. It's the story of two brothers growing up in a low-income neighborhood in Scarborough, which is in Ontario, Canada, in the 80s and 90s, and it's told non-linearly from the point of view of the youngest brother when he is an adult looking back on his life. It is just an amazing story, and in my opinion, it's probably one of the best written books of the selections this year for Canada Reads. I also read Suzanne by Anaïs Barbeau-Lavalette and translated by Rhonda Mullins. This is the fictionalized biography of Anaïs's estranged grandmother. So basically, her grandmother abandoned her kids and refused to be in their life at all and in the life of their grandkids except for a few bits here and there. And then after she died, Anaïs went into her grandmother's apartment and found bits and pieces of it, then hired a private detective to find out more about her grandma's life and wrote this fictionalized account. So there's some stuff that's based on truth, but it's all kind of her imagining her grandmother doing this. And I gotta say, I really did not like Suzanne. I loved the way it was written. I was interested in some of the things that were happening, but that character, I hated her so much because she, not just because she abandoned her family, which is horrible, just kind of like decide that you don't want to be a mother anymore, just like, and she was so passive, you know, except when it came to running away, and she blamed everyone but herself for her failure. She never really sought out to do something. She just kind of fell in with certain things, and it was just, yeah, I just really did not like her. On the last book for Canada Reads that I finished in February was By Chance Alone by Max Eisen, and this is a Holocaust memoir, and it's hard to criticize because, you know, it is the story of a Holocaust survivor, so like, it's a horrible story, but I really have to say that it really felt detached and like the writing was very clinical. And I would rather read about how things made him feel as opposed to kind of like him just kind of listing off, you know, at one point it was listing off the chores he had to do on his aunt's farm. And then it was, you know, listing out the schedule he made for himself working in the hospital in Auschwitz. And it was just kind of like, it felt more like I was reading a textbook of a fictionalized life as opposed to his actual life, if that makes sense. Like, it's still an important story, I still learned a lot, but the writing just felt totally off for me. And the last book I'd have to read for Canada Reads is The Woo Boo, and I'll be reading that in March. So that's my February wrap-up. I'll be doing a separate wrap-up for comics, like I did for January as well, because I read too many to include them in this video. And that's it. Thank you for watching.